Hello, Facebook friends. How are you? This is Carole. I'm at another spot here in my town. Wonderful Lake Assawamsett in the background. Lots of cars in the background too. I was going to go to my other favorite spot, but unfortunately they have an event going on, so I had to pick this one as an alternative. I wanted to have a little water in the background, so I am here. Thank you so much. We have our quiz for Sunday. Missed last week because I got busy with activities. I had to go to Connecticut to be with my grandchildren and take care of them, and then came back, but I'm here, and Nancy is here as well. Thank you, Nancy Steger, for joining us. So the two questions are this. Brian, thank you very much for being here. First question, what percentage of Google tech staff are black? What percentage of the Google tech staff are black? If you know the answer or something approximate to the answer, put your response down in the comments area. So that's the first question. And I have an update, so I'm going to give you the answer, and then I'm also going to give you an update based on their 2018 numbers. So that's the first one. And number two is this young lady, Priyanka Yoshikawa. Her name is Priyanka Yoshikawa. She is now a famous young woman. She competed in a beauty contest, and she is biracial. And I want you to answer the question, what country did she represent in 2016? So again, her name is Priyanka Yoshikawa, and she is a beauty contest winner of 2016, biracial. Actually, she's the second biracial beauty contestant winner in this particular country. It's not the United States, because we want to be global. And oh, Markar is here. I bet she's going to know the answer. Hey, Markar, great to have you. Carole, thank you so much for joining us. So the question is, what country, what ethnicity is she, and what country does she represent? So those are our two questions for the day. All of these quizzes, this is actually quiz number 6 for me. Thank you, Markar. You know, you're probably going to get both answers because you know all this. This is fantastic. But all the answers and the back information, all of that can be found at my website at CaroleCopelandThomas.com. You can go there under the blog section, under quiz number 6, so you can see all the questions for the week. I have some pretty interesting ones, and then all the answers are always at the blog as well. So we've done this 6 times. We're going to continue to do it because I get really good responses from it. And so those are the 2 questions for the day. Let me just give you an update because I was glued to my television set on Friday and Saturday because of the tribute funerals that took place for the Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin, and also for Senator John McCain, both 2 fabulous Americans. And the way I describe them now is, and hopefully you guys can hear me because it's a little noisy here. If you can't hear me, please let me know, but hopefully you can hear me. I really describe it now as 2 stylistically and culturally different people, but both true Americans, where they were stylistically, they were in different worlds altogether. Some overlap in terms of their real focus on issues related to people and Americans. But when you look at the life of Aretha Franklin and all the things that she did in her life. Evans, thank you so much for joining. Lauren, thank you very much for joining as well. All the things that she did in her life behind the scenes, now people, because she's passed away, they're coming out and saying, well, yeah, I mean, she supported my organization, she supported my church, and you know, she would help out people and write checks, and people didn't know that she was actually sponsoring different activities. And she said, no, don't tell this, you know, I'm gonna give anonymously. And so, I mean, she had that level of community spiritness and focus on people and trying to help people her entire life. Just like John McCain had the public service and duty and honor in his life. First of all, starting off in the military. He was a decorated naval officer, was shot down in Vietnam. The excruciating terms And what he lived through in what he called Hanoi Hilton was just amazing. 5.5 years in captivity, could have gotten out early, but because of duty and honor, he said, no, because my men and people who are in lesser ranks are still here, so I'm not going to be released before they're going to be released. And as a result of that, he stayed in for a total of 5.5 years. And just an incredible experience. I'm going to click my button here, and Candelaria Silver is in the video. So hello Candelaria, I'm glad you're here and glad so many of you are here. So we look at his sacrifices that then moved over into his political service, first as a representative and then as a state senator, as a U.S. senator, taking over the role of Barry Goldwater on the Republican side. But just being a real man of integrity, commitment, dedication. He was ornery. We've seen that. He had quite a personality, quite a fiery personality. And, oh, Marcara, there you are. Oh, I think you're, yeah. I'll ask you more about her dad. We're talking about the quiz question, but yeah, you definitely have it spot on. We'll talk about that in a minute. Thank you. But John McCain was a man of integrity, a man of commitment, and a man of courage, hands down. Aretha Franklin was responsible for helping Angela Davis get out of jail. I remember in the 70s when Angela Davis, who was a social justice fighter, she was a professor in California, has a PhD, and because of the sign of the times, she was arrested, put in jail. I remember the Free Angela Davis signs that were in my dormitory room during that time. Didn't know, little did I realize that behind the scenes, you had people like Aretha Franklin who were helping the cause. So I look at stylistically how different they were. They came from different walks of life. They had their own ups and downs. Yes, you got it, Marcara. You got it. I'm going to announce it in just a minute. You got it. And just two different, stylistically different people, culturally very different, but both of them had such an impact on our culture and on our country. So I nostalgically watched both funerals. I watched the funeral that was 7 hours long on Friday, because I am from Detroit, as I had mentioned with my last video that I had 2 weeks ago. And so many of the players and the people and the streets and the things that were going on, I know just from my childhood, and I also know just because of the people who are my relatives, people who are still left in Detroit, who were either at the funeral or certainly watching it on television, or went down to see the remains, the body, during the week at the Charles Wright Museum. So I mean, it's just homeland, home folks, people I know. The very gentleman, one of the pallbearers, who was very carefully carrying Aretha Franklin's casket in and out of Greater Grace Church. One of them, Keith Moore, is a longtime staff member of the Swanson Funeral Home. Keith Moore and I were church mates. We grew up together. Our mothers were mothers of our church and in the same social club in our church for many, many years. They were buddies, friends. I grew up with him and his brother and sisters. So, I mean, these are people I know, and here I see Keith on television, see him on Entertainment Tonight carrying this casket, and I've known him almost my whole life. And then Swanson Funeral Home, the actual funeral home, they buried my mother. O'Neill Swanson is a family friend. He and my brother are very good friends. My former husband, they're also very good friends. My former husband was at the funeral. And so, I mean, a lot of these people, I know. I've known them for a long time. People are talking about how amazing Aretha Franklin was with her 4 outfits. Every day they changed her outfit. Well, Linda Swanson is O'Neill Swanson's daughter. I know her. I just saw her back in November. I saw him back in November. And that's her specialty. She's a mortician, licensed mortician, along with obviously O'Neill Swanson, her dad. And that's what she does. She actually makes sure that the bodies are well taken care of, where the makeup is done, and clothing is made if in fact it needs to be made. And I've been told that those outfits every day were either custom made by her or they were altered according to the wishes of Linda Swanson. So, I mean, it's just like it's home. It's definitely home. And for some people where you may say, wow, that funeral was so long, couldn't they have cut it? I think they had, I wrote it down. I wrote it, left it back in my office. They had some 27 speakers, some 18 different performances. There were 4,000 people in the church itself. They had over 100 pink Cadillacs that were in the processional going from the church to the cemetery. And that church is not that far from where my brother and sister-in-law live. They come down 7 Mile Road, turn left on Woodward Avenue, and then Woodlawn Cemetery in Detroit is where Aretha is buried in the mausoleum, along with where her dad is also infirmed as well. At least his body is interned, should I say. And my sister-in-law, Deborah Copeland, came out of the house, walked down the street, went down to 7 Mile Road, and so she saw the procession with all the 100+ pink Cadillacs that were there. So this was it was a very homegrown, Detroit-centered ceremony, even though the world saw it, and even though the entire country was involved in Aretha Franklin and her homegoing. So that was very, very special. And yeah, it was a long funeral because she knew a lot of people and people wanted to be there. Definitely. There were a lot of performances. It was quite amazing. And the style is a black style. When you look at the black church, Lori Berman says pink caddies were a cool touch from Mary Kay ladies. That's right. They were all Mary Kay Cadillacs. Most of them were. Couldn't stop watching that John McCain as well. So we're going to talk about him in a minute. So yeah, I mean, the ladies of Mary Kay Cosmetics, I used to be a Mary Kay person. I used to have a pink car, used to have a pink Regal. And she says it was long because everyone loved her. Absolutely. Everyone respected Aretha Franklin, R-E-S-P-E-C-T. They loved her. And she had a lot of friends. You hear the stories afterwards. Again, you see what she did quietly. I was a Mary Kay lady too. Oh yeah, Lori. We probably could share some Mary Kay stories. So I mean, she was a beloved humanitarian, obviously a consummate entertainer where her voice, I've listened to her performances last year. She still had it last year. So all of that, that's the reason why the service was so long, but I watched it all. I was bouncing back and forth between my office and up and down the steps and had it on and watched it and absorbed it and loved the music and was inspired by it. But that is the black church. That is the black church. You know, there was even a little huffiness about Ariana Grande, and her dress was quite short. And I've been on Black Twitter. There have been lots of comments on Black Twitter about her. In the black church, when you're in the pulpit singing or performing, her kind of outfit was not appropriate. Now, I know that Bishop Ellis, he is the pastor of that church, he just affectionately put his arm around her, brought her up, maybe was trying to console her because she looked a little nervous. He's been called out by that. He's had to apologize. But I want her to apologize for that outfit she had on because it was inappropriate for the black church. Blacks in our churches typically are quite conservative in how we dress when you're going to perform like that. So you saw Jennifer Hudson perfectly coiffed, perfectly belted out, amazing grace. She was amazing at the end, and every other singer. Shirley Caesar had a long outfit on. Even the pastor's wife was very conservatively and tastefully dressed. And yeah, the best stories. Yes. So I mean, that's the black church. I'm actually going to, I've already written a book on the black culture, but I'm going to excerpt it so that it can be shared with lots of people to understand the dynamics that go on in the black church. So Friday was exceptional. The whole week was exceptional with all of the services and the pomp and circumstance rightfully so bestowed upon the Queen of Soul. And then on Saturday, And he also had services in Arizona, Washington, D.C., and then buried in Annapolis, Maryland, because he was a Navy man. His services were incredible. Senator John McCain. I watched the funeral yesterday. I actually ranked, and I put it online Sunday, so the motorcycles are out. Old cars also, so they're out. But I actually ranked what I liked about his service in the National Cathedral yesterday. I've actually sung. I sang in the National Cathedral 40 years ago when I was in college, 40 plus years ago. I loved Meghan McCain's passionate message. I absolutely loved her message. Her compassion was there, her love for her father, her annoyance with what's taking place politically and how that impacted her dad. And Varakar, question 1, 2%. Yeah, you're correct, and I'm going to give you some updates on that too. Now, my Facebook friends, y'all got to catch up with Varakar. She is on point. Every single Facebook Live posting that I've had, these quizzes, she has answered those questions. So I want you all to get up to it and somehow compete with Varakar, because she is on point. We're going to get to those answers in a minute. But she was so compassionate. This is, we're talking about Meghan McCain. So compassionate. In an elegant way. She was crying, she was tearful, but she fought and she got through it because she wanted the country to know how special her dad was. So I loved her message. I always loved President Barack Obama. I loved what he had to say. I loved what President George Bush had to say in his very straightforward, no-nonsense way. I thought that they were a great bookend at the request of Senator McCain, where they really delivered a stirring message from their perspectives as presidents. That's the kind of man that John McCain was. Lori said, I thought Meghan, President Obama, and Lieberman were amazing. I agree, absolutely agree. And Joe Lieberman, because he was actually John McCain's first choice. Another motorcycle. He was actually John McCain's first choice for being chosen in 2008. 2008, I believe, either 2008 or 2000. I'm getting my years mixed up, for vice president. He wanted Joe Lieberman to be his vice presidential candidate. I think it was 2008. He then chose Sarah Palin, which we know was not really the best choice for him. But Bush was good too, absolutely. He was very good in terms of his eulogy. So Lieberman gave the backstory of just how funny it was, because Joe Lieberman, former Democrat, now independent, but still votes with the Democrats and still is part of the Democratic Party, is a very observant Jewish man. And he said how funny it is that this service was on Saturday and he can't drive a vehicle, he can't be in a vehicle on Saturday, so he had to walk to the National Cathedral. That was quite interesting. And I think he was forced to take on Sarah Palin. Yeah, well, I'm sure we'll scratch our heads and talk about that for years to come. But just the compassion again with Joe Lieberman, and just the jokes that were shared, it was just very, very poignant to hear President Obama, hear President Bush, hear Joe Lieberman, definitely Meghan McCain as well, and just all of the other presenters who were just very, very compassionate. I also liked Henry Kissinger. Now, we can go back and talk about some of the decisions he made as Secretary of State, but I sat up and I took notice. He's 95 years old now, and he talked about John McCain's father during those days when he was in captivity. And because his father was in a very senior leadership position, he said, I'm going to pray for my son. He couldn't do anything outside of the normal political, military policies and regulations. There was nothing. His hands were tied. He couldn't do anything, but yet his own son was in captivity for 5.5 years, and Henry Kissinger brought that out. Just the spirit and the integrity of these individuals. And Lori is saying, and how he talked about John McCain taking, yes, Sabbath elevators with him, right? Yes, just a respectful man, just like Aretha, absolutely. So again, you look at that funeral, which was much shorter, about 2.5 hours, but again, stylistically, very different. Culturally, very different. Americans to their heart. Patriots to their hearts. And it showed in everything that was said about them, all the things that were uttered, the songs that were sung, all of that represented these two Americans, John McCain and the Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin, and we pay tribute to them as they now rest with the angels, definitely. Okay, so question number 1 is about Google, and Marikar, so you guys check it out. She knows where the answers are. Yes, currently in 2018, the annual report for Google shows about 2.5% of the employees overall at Google are black. Only 2.5%. And of that number, only 1% as of 2016, 1% are blacks in their tech staff. Now, why does this matter? Because just about everything we do now is somehow connected to Google. Your searches, all these telemarketing phone calls that you get, people, all of the satellites that are showing exactly where you live on the planet. That's all Google. And so you have to pay attention to them. It's a very important company, very, very important. But only 1% of black people are working in the tech field at Google. When on my quiz, I actually say it's 1% in 2016, and now it's up to a whopping 2%. So that's just not good enough. That's not good enough. So, yep, you're right, Marikar. That is correct. You got the right answer. And then the next one, which is number 5 with my diversity quiz, when you go to the blog on my website, but Priyanka Yoshikawa, she was the first Japanese woman, first biracial Japanese woman to win the title of Miss Japan in 2016. Her mother is Japanese and her father is Indian. Now, I'm not sure whether he lives in Japan. I'm not sure if he lives in India. I'm not sure if he lives in one of the other countries in the subcontinent. But anyway, he is of Indian descent. And Lori says, sounds like I need to go to your website. Yeah, I have a lot of good stuff there. CaroleCopelandThomas.com, CAROLE, CopelandThomas.com. Go to the blog section and you'll see all of the quiz questions for this week's quiz. And then scroll back and you'll see the other 5 quizzes and their answers as well. Now, she's not the first. Priyanka is not the first. She's the second. The first who was crowned Miss Universe Japan, I think I got that correct, in 2015 was Ariana Miyamoto. Ariana Miyamoto. Beautiful. These are both very beautiful young women, and both mothers are Japanese. And Ariana's dad is an African American from the States. He was in the service and obviously had a relationship, married her mom, and they divorced. But anyway, she speaks fluent Japanese, fluent. She is Japanese. She is an interesting title. I'm going to use this title because I've seen it written. It's called Hafu, H-A-A-F-U, H-A-A-F-U. And in Japan, it refers to people who are biracial in that country. Now, both Ariana and also Priyanka have had some blips in the perception that people have about them. They've called them not pure. There's a long history in Japan about purity and being purely 100% Japanese and what that means in the society. So they have they've suffered some criticism because of that. But fortunately, because times are changing, even in Japan, 2015 and 2016, both of these young women were crowned Miss Japan, Miss Universe Japan, and so that lets you know that even in Japan, things are changing. So those are the two quiz questions. Marikar, you are the big winner today. Yes, you got them. And I'd love for all of you to check out the website, learn more about diversity and multiculturalism. I'm really excited because we are just about a couple of weeks away from opening up my members-only multicultural website. I'm excited about it. I've been promoting it all summer long. Thank you so much. We've had many people to sign up as members. You can still sign up between now and tomorrow evening at the discounted rate of $179. It's going to go up to $299 on Tuesday. Become a member of the Multicultural Symposium series, and that affords you many things. Online courses that we're going to have. We're going to talk about the world. We're going to talk about the workplace, diversity, multiculturalism, yourself, development, growth. We're going to have countless online courses that you can take inside of the Multicultural Symposium series. It's going to be very, very exciting. I'm now connected to a worldwide group of membership site owners. So I'm building this and designing this based on strategic focus and marketing directions that have already been put in place. And so it's not, I'm not doing this blindly. Fortunately, because I've had a membership organization for 10 years, it's not like I'm starting from scratch, but I definitely want you to be a part of it. So you can hop on over. I actually have in the header the link that you can go to and sign up and become a member. Doesn't make any difference where you are. Hi, Cheryl, Dr. Cheryl Newton-White from Detroit. My, again, home girl, church girl. She was in my wedding many years ago. Just a wonderful person. We've been talking about Detroit all during this segment. And also Barry Banther, incoming president, soon to be president of the National Speakers Association next year. Thank you so much. He's joining from Florida. I thank everybody who's joining. But I want you to become a member of the Multicultural Symposium series because we as a community can band together and learn together about the nuances of cross-culturalism, diversity, multiculturalism, inclusion, as it relates to you, as it relates to your particular neighborhood, your home, your association, your business, your company, your group. All of that is a part of multiculturalism, and we're going to break it down, dig deep. We're going to have a community forum where you can ask questions within the forum. You can ask confidential questions in private rooms so that your colleagues at work will not see your answers. So we want to have that level of privacy. But I'm just really, really excited about the things we're going to do. Online courses, community forum, downloadables where people can get checklists and reports and documentation. One thing that we want to do is to ultimately build out the world and have individual sheets, facts, data about every country in the world. They'll be inside of the Multicultural Symposium series. And most excitingly for me is that on November 1st, which is now 2 months from now, it's hard to believe it's almost around the corner. Many of you will be there because you're already members of MSS, and some of you may not be there if you are a member. We're going to have a special section of the website just for highlights for the November 1st conference. Gladys Willis will definitely be there because she's one of my team members, so I know she's going to be at the November 1st conference. And so you'll have a chance to partake after the fact. But our special speaker, confirmed, is the first African-American Boston Police Commissioner in the history of Boston. And his name is William Gross. He is an outstanding, courageous, principled man, been on the police force his entire adult life, and he is going to bring us greetings and a presentation that day. I'm very, very excited just because he's worked really hard. He is a leader amongst leaders, and he's going to really deliver a wonderful, exciting message on November 1st. So we want you to be a part of the Multicultural Symposium series no matter where you live. You can, again, look at the link that's above, or you can go to either my name, CaroleCopelandThomas.com, or MSSConnect.com. Either one of my websites, it'll take you to the same place, And you can sign up between now and tomorrow, Labor Day, at midnight, when the prices are going to go up. This is going to be a phenomenal organization. They're going to be talking about it all over the place because you're going to be a part of it. Thank you all so much for watching and listening. Please spread this. We had fun today. We talked about Aretha, John McCain, and Murakar. Once again, answered the 2 quiz questions. We'll have more for you next week. Thank you. Take care. Enjoy your Labor Day here in the United States. And we'll be all back to work on Tuesday. Take care now.